Hello there, my name is Anna Amelia and I'm from Northeast Animal Rights, and we are doing our latest Saturday Spotlight interview. We are delighted to welcome along Jake Ratcliffe, who is from Millington's Magical Barn. Some of you will know Jake, and some of you will know also that we are massive supporters of Millington's. We absolutely love the place and we love Jake as well. So thank you very much for coming along and agreeing to do this today.
You're welcome.
So if we can go straight into the questions, that would be lovely. Okay, so
Yeah,
first of all, could you tell us about your journey to veganism?
Yeah, so it was probably not as straightforward as what other people have. I used to be a massively into my food, massively into my meat and my fish. I I used to play rugby, so I fell into the typical sort of trap of, you got to get your protein in, you've got to be eating like this if you want to have any fitness or have any build. You wouldn't think I had any build then, like looking at me now, but yeah, so I fell into that trap, and just out of chance, saw a veganuary post about 6 years, yeah, 6 years ago now. So I saw the veganuary post, and it'll be coming up to 7. So I saw that, and yeah, I thought, it's like at Christmas, I'd had far too much of excess of everything, and I thought, yeah, I need to lose a few pounds, so let's give this a go. So yeah, I did that. I did it to the absolute book. Didn't eat no vegan junk food. I ate perfectly. Didn't obviously discover the many things that you can have as a vegan. I thought it was just purely, fruit and veg. So yeah, I lived like I suppose like an absolute saint for a full month. But yeah, come the 1st of February, I went. I ashamedly went straight back to Miller and Carter's. I got a steak and lobster, and well, I can't wait to go and have that. And thinking back now, it absolutely disgusts me that's the first thing that I did. But I was so sort of ingrained in me as to what I actually thought, was the foods that I enjoy. So as I say, I didn't remain vegan that was 7 years ago. I remained cooking a few vegan meals, but I continued to follow my previous diet. And then it came back round again, which would have been 6 years ago, and it came back round again. And this time when it got to the end of it, I thought, you know what, why don't we just stick at it? And over the first few months, there was a few things that I slowly eliminated, and I didn't. It took me probably 3 months to transition fully after that veganuary. Just sort of getting things out that I'd lived my entire life doing and eating, So I sort of retaught myself how to cook all my favorite meals as in a vegan way, and yeah, by that sort of spring, at the end of the spring, I'd converted to fully vegan.
So I suppose you're talking about the diet side of it. So that was kind of like your sort of incentive at the time, yeah,
Yeah.
rather than the animal side. So what was it that made you stick at it then? I mean, was it just kind of like the health side of it because you must have felt better, presumably?
No, it was so the first year that I did the veganuary, I watched a couple of documentaries. I then started looking more and more into just how we're getting us food. And the idea of that somebody has a little cow in the back garden that lives a nice pleasant life, and then at the end of the life, they're going to the food chain. That's what I'd been conditioned to think, just as the majority of other people are. And then during that first veganuary that I did, I found out more stuff, but my ignorance conquered me initially, and I almost took the attitude of I didn't want to know because
Yeah.
which a lot of my friends and people still say the same to me. I don't want to know because I don't want to make a change.
Yeah.
But then when it got to the second year, then I truly committed to sort of forcing myself to see these things. And I remember watching Dominion, and I've said to my friends and Rosie, my family, since that I wish I watched Dominion when I was a kid, because when you're presented with the facts, as easy as they are, as difficult a watch as it is, they are unfortunately the facts. It's not dramatized; it is the fact. And yeah, if I'd have been presented that with a kid, as a kid, I would have saved a lot more animals' lives in the process. But yeah, once I knew that, then there was only sort of one way forward for me, and that then drove me to begin to follow animal sanctuaries on Instagram, and yeah, suppose I'm sure you'll ask me more, but yeah, the rest is
So
history
yeah,
on that.
so that actually leads us into the next question quite nicely. So can you tell us about, like how and why Millingtons were set up, and also where did the name come from?
Sorry if you see me with a tennis ball, I've got Benji, our dog, just asking me to throw it every second. So as I say, that the second time that I did the veganuary and then stuck at it, it was sort of as Instagram was growing, or as I was probably late to the scene as I was getting Instagram, and I started to follow different sanctuaries and predominantly ones in the US. And I started to follow these sanctuaries, and then yeah, at the time I was then sort of asking myself, what can I do more to help? What can I do more to help animals? And by fate would have it, a stray cat appeared at my one of my sites that I work at. I've got my own business alongside the sanctuary, so where I've got an office. One night in that winter, a stray cat appeared at my door, and yeah, he was really sick. I won't go into detail about what had happened to him, but I had to take him to the vets, and the vet said, do you want us to put him to sleep? It's going to be upwards of £2,000 to fix him. And I says, no, fix him, fix him. And the vet was absolutely startled that I'd said that, but I couldn't. I said, if he's got a chance of living, then I couldn't bring myself to, put him to sleep. So he performed the operation, set me a few £1,000s back, and the vet said he needs to stay inside for 6 weeks. So we made him a little bed in my office. And when it came to my office is based at a mill. So when it came to naming it, the vets they said, "What's his name?" And I said, "His name's Milkat." Uh, and I cared for Milkat for a couple of years, and yeah, eventually his life on the streets had taken its toll, and we were in and out of the vets a few times more. But yeah, the final time when I went in, I got them to change his name, because I said he's far too fancy to be called Milkat, and we changed him to Millington Bear, and then. Yeah, that was prior to me doing veganuary. So it's sort of all tied in. And then that second time that I did veganuary, obviously I'd watched these documentaries. I'd then experienced the diet itself and how much better it made me feel. And then I'd also had the experience with Millington. So yeah, that was when I started to ask myself, what could I do more? And so then I got in touch with Cats Protection. I began to foster cats for Cats Protection just in my house down there. And whilst that was amazing, I still felt I could do more. You know, I'd worked sort of hard since I was leaving school. I'd run my own business, and I'd begun to establish a little bit of savings. And who needs life savings, right? So a place just down the road came available. Strangely enough, that I'd always said when I was a kid I wanted to live at, but no, not. And yeah, so I went and looked round to see what it looked like. I told my mum and dad just to see, out of curiosity. And yeah, then yeah, it's coming up to 5 years ago now, and that's
Yeah,
how the magical barn was established. He was the first animal that I saved, and
yeah,
yeah, my name's
yeah.
Jake. Surely to honour that one special animal that sort of started this crazy journey.
Yeah, I mean, I know you mentioned obviously your folks and Rosie as well. I mean, I know your mum and dad are really, really proud of you. I mean, they can just when we saw them at the festival, they were just bursting with pride, like talking about you. And when we're being down there as well, your mum, it's Deborah and James, isn't it? Yeah, I know that they were just like so proud that they were just like glowing when they're talking. Um,
Uh,
so anyway, we're talking about sanctuaries generally. I mean, we found Millingtons because I mean, probably one of our first contacts with you was asking if your sanctuary was a vegan sanctuary, because when we do our wellbeing trips, we're very conscious that we don't want to go to sanctuaries where they're going to be feeding animals in a cafe. So
yeah,
how important to you is it in your opinion that animal sanctuaries are vegan?
yeah. I mean, the every sanctuary has their own way of doing things, and obviously I'm not gonna tell somebody how to run their sanctuary, as I wouldn't obviously let somebody tell me how to run my
Yeah,
sanctuary. But my view, when we're welcoming people for tours and we're promoting this image of, the whole reason why we have the Instagram is not to promote a self. For me, it's to promote the species, and
yeah,
people always ask me, you're not going to change the world with that, and obviously we're not. But if I if I bring you know, a sheep to life on Instagram, that somebody might have just thought sheep just stand in fields, you know,
Yeah.
then we bring them to life on a human level on Instagram. Then, you know, how hypocritical would that then be of me to then say, right, guys, come on, let's go and have a lamb dinner, you
Yeah.
know? So, for me, it's hypocritical, and it's something that I'm sure I could make a lot more money for the sanctuary and save myself a lot more of my own wage. Stop going in there. I'm sure I could do that if I had a nice little cafe that served you know, regular food that people can eat that is non-vegan.
Mm.
But no, it's something that
Yeah.
I've never contemplated, and it's something that I never will. It unfortunately goes completely against the
Yeah.
message that I'm trying to
Yeah.
promote.
So how many animals? I know you've got, obviously we're doing a feature at the moment on all the animals we decided to do one on our page on each of the species. So how many animals have you got? I mean, do you know how many you've got at the moment?
Well, we've just actually gone down to a nice even number. We did have 101,
Mm.
but we've gone down to 100 because we've just recently placed our long-term foster
Yeah,
Juno
Joanna,
uh,
yeah, you saw that.
in his fair home, which is a amazing home by the beach. So it's a
Yeah,
little bit in the back garden right now as I speak to you. Usually I've got Junebug at the side of me wanting a cuddle, and Benji
yeah,
to the left, ball throwing. So it is a little bit quieter, but
yeah,
yeah. So seeing him go down to his forever home really did put a smile on his face, and then yeah, that's now brought us down to a nice even figure of 100. But
just 100. So you know the stable notices. We saw that those they weren't here the last time we went, but obviously most recently they were, and we thought that was a really good way of getting some sort of like subliminal messaging out. It's not like overtly you need to be vegan sort of stuff. It's kind of like telling you about the animals. So whose idea was that, and what sort of reactions are you getting?
yeah, that was my idea this year, and it was purely based on sort of me knowing how I would take on board advice. You know, I remember, I'm sure if any of my school teachers ever spoke to you now, they'd all tell you that if they told me what to do, I'd do the exact opposite. But if they sort of let me have the idea for myself, even though it was their idea, then I'd conform, and that's kind of how I think I want to be presented with an idea. You know, if I've always thought that if I was a meat eater or I was a vegetarian thinking about going vegan, or you know, if I had no interest in whatsoever, I'd definitely have no interest in veganism or factoring in more of vegan food into my diet if somebody was trying to ram it down my throat, and that's where I sort of had the idea that,
Yeah,
right, let's not try and ram it down the throat. Let's make people think about that, you know. So at
yeah,
the start of a tour, I always tell people to look out for the boards, because not only do the boards state what I'd say happens to the animals. So I'm sure you've already shown the boards, but so just to talk them through, we have the scientific part of them. So you know, what the background is, what they're descended from, the scientific name. It then says the natural lifespan, and then we call it a common lifespan, which would be
yeah,
what typically they typically see their lifespan, which can obviously range from anything from a day to 5-10 years until the industry has had their way with them. We then show what uses they're for, because a lot of the time I think people don't realize what things are actually used for. You know, me myself, I didn't realize, you know, until I looked further into it, that duck feathers were used for bedding and things like
yeah,
that. You know, because marketing has called it a different term. They call it down. So they
yeah,
don't say, "Oh, these are duck feathers." They say down. You know, so you just assume it's something else.
yeah,
You know, so we do that. But then we also have then 3 fun facts that somebody might not know. So the
yeah,
eye's immediately drawn to the fun facts, and then
mm,
it may also continue upwards. And yeah, the reaction we've had has been really good. Often people will say to me, "What's common lifespan? You know, what is that?" And that's, and you know, put it matter of fact, oh, that's the time where they generally see the end of their life,
yeah,
and whenever I say that, it's always met with the reaction of, "Oh my God, are you joking?" You know,
mm,
and yeah, when we do the tours, again I go through the same thing. I don't lie about anything. I don't hide any facts, but then I also don't try and ram it down people's throats. I let people put two and two
mm,
together,
mm.
and then yeah, make their own mind up.
Yeah, I think even in our group, when we saw the notices, I mean, there was a lot of things that we didn't know. I mean, for example, I mean, when we did the alpaca one, I mean, obviously the majority of us would know that alpacas are used for entertainment, they're used for the wool, and they're used in the meat industry. But a lot of people don't realise that it's actually the same animal. You know, potentially it's not going to be, you know, some animals are reared just for the meat, some animals are reared for the wool. It's actually could be the same animals you're petting, and then they will go for wool and they go for meat later down the line, and they don't live very long.
Yeah, no, it's obviously a little bit different in this country, but in the countries where they use for that, it's like how our farmers use an animal for every single thing that they can.
Yeah,
Right at the end, you know, you see now which one of the things that really does sort of upset me when I see it. That you see farms, they have lambs, so they sell them, they sell tickets to let
yeah,
people feed them, so they're making money out of them that way. And then when they're too big for the kids to feed them, then they'll go to
yeah,
slaughter for lamb. So you know,
yeah,
it's maximizing revenue and also
yeah.
using the animal in the process.
Yeah, and I think the other shocker is obviously the lifespan. Like you said, the common lifespan and the actual lifespan. This is something we have it like a sheep from Viva saying, "Are you a baby eater?" Which we use quite a lot. It's showing you exactly what you do, which is the typical lifespan and the actual lifespan. I mean, the ones which we go quite often we use are the pigs and the cows and chickens. People don't understand that chickens can live till about 9, 10 year old. I mean, we had a chicken who we rescued. She lived till she was 7. So they can live really long, happy, healthy lives, you know.
And one question we always get asked, particularly about the pigs, is oh my God, I've never seen a pig that big,
Yeah.
and I'll say I've never seen an adult pig.
Mhm.
You know, people are conditioned to think that an adult pig is actually a
Mhm.
piglet. You know, they think that's an adult, but it's not. It's just a piglet because
Yeah.
they simply don't make it to being old enough to
Yeah.
be good. And the ones that they do, the ones that do are obviously in the farrowing crates the majority of their life. So that you know that you're never going to see them either.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what's a typical day for you and the team? I mean, what time do you start? What time do you go to bed?
So I start. I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Obviously, we've got 3 or 4 dogs at any one time. So 4 o'clock start, and then yeah, I'll take out the dogs, get them all sorted. And obviously, me and Rosie both work full time, so we
Mm.
do have a small team of volunteers that can help us out. If, say, for instance, at the moment I've just returned from working away, or if on the rare occasion I'm working away and Rosie's working nights, a small team of volunteers does help us out. But if it is predominantly us on site, then yeah. So we'd walk the dogs, get them started, have a bite to eat ourselves, and then we'd get started on breakfast at 6 o'clock.
Mm.
That'll be letting all the animals out, going round tidying up, tidying each one of the stables, reloading them, obviously giving everybody the breakfast, giving everybody the meds. At the moment, we've got 5 animals that are on daily meds, so it's quite an extensive program. And then we'll head to work then. And usually I'll come back on my lunch, or somebody can call in at the farm. We call it a cuddle. So that's a lunchtime. So it's predominantly in the summer when you're checking on waters.
Mm.
But obviously, if we're at work all day, then you know you want to have an eye on the animals at the same time. So it's to do a once over on all the animals, make sure everybody's okay.
Mm.
And yeah, we use that opportunity to then do exactly what we say, cuddle the animals and sort of reward our volunteers or ourselves with a little bit of downtime while we can. It doesn't come that often, but we can reward ourselves with a nice cuddle with a cow or a pig, and then yeah, back to work. Once I finish work, obviously in the winter it's a little bit difficult because you're racing home to beat the sunset. But in summer, right now, so what we've had of summer, we can come home, and then we've got a couple of hours that we can enjoy the animals, or perhaps do some jobs, build our paths, do
Yeah.
some improve our stables, and then yeah, at 7 o'clock or as late as we possibly can, depending on the weather. We'll then get everybody in for the supper, settle
Mm.
them into bed. All the animals go to bed on an evening. They've all got their own stable where they can all be nice and
Mm.
safe and cozy on an evening. And then yeah, we then walk the dogs again, and generally between 10 and 11, get to bed ourselves, and then do it all again the day after. So yeah,
Sounds
fun and game.
exhausting. Sounds exhausting. I mean, I know a lot of people, a lot of people in the vegan world, I think their ideal is to, "Oh, I would love to have a sanctuary of my own," and you just think, but I know from, like, from the reality in terms of like what we see on your social media, for example, the awful part of it, kind of when the animals get sick, when the animals die, how the toll it must take on you, and the fact that you've still got all these, like another 100 animals to look after,
Yeah,
the constant worry about the finances, and also the fact that you've got a job as well, so you've got to keep the job going. So I certainly couldn't do it. I mean, hats off to you. I just really, really couldn't do it. Um, I know obviously what we see is a tiny little snapshot of your kind of like your life, but it's just amazing.
yeah, we've heard that quite a few times on tours and on things. Oh my God, you're living my dream, and I always say, do a week volunteering, and I'll ask you again.
Yeah, yeah, I think that, yeah.
You know, the sanctuary is coming up to its 5th anniversary, and we're not yet completely sustainable. I've put over 125,000 of my own money into
Mm,
to get sanctuary to where it is. It's far more sustainable than what it was, but
mm,
I still put about £1 a month of my own wages in.
yeah,
Obviously, COVID held us up for a couple of years, so there's obviously the financial strain, and then like you said, the emotional strain is probably the one that gets you the most, because uh, I like to think I'm quite a strong. I've got quite a strong mental attitude, and I can deal with pretty much anything. But when you lose one of your best friends or your family, which is what
yeah,
they are to me, people
yeah,
will say, "Oh, it's only a pig or it's only a sheep," but these are my best friends and they're my family. So it's just like one of us losing one of our human family. So that is a very difficult thing to do. But then when you've got a nice summer's day like we have today, after our chat today, I'm going to be hosting a tour for 15 people that can come and enjoy in the sanctuary. I've got to go back to work afterwards, but when you've got a nice summer's day and you can look around and see the animals that you've rescued and you've transformed their lives, and
yeah,
the smiles that it puts on not just their faces but also the people attending the tour, then it certainly does make every long late night and getting wet throughout in the rain and the wind,
yeah.
it certainly makes that worth it.
Yeah, and I mean, we were talking obviously the finance part of it. I mean, we know that obviously you can sponsor animals. We as a group we sponsor Star and Sunshine, and also I think Mark has just started sponsoring Eddie as well, and he's absolutely over the moon. He's delighted. He put a big message out yesterday saying he was just so grateful. So I mean, obviously that's a good way of supporting you. But I mean, we'll come back to the finance part of it and how we can help you as well. But I know you're surrounded by animal agriculture as well. So how are you perceived by the local community? I mean, it must be a bit of sort of a tricky relationship.
Yeah, it's a difficult one because we obviously have to still work with them in some shape or form. We need to get our hay and our straw from somewhere. So you don't want to ostracize yourself completely.
Yeah,
Uh, the guy that we get our hay and our straw from, we have a good working relationship. We obviously have completely different values. Every time he'll come, he'll ask me how much I want to sell them beasts for. And I say them beasts are my family, mate. So it's all done in jest. But unfortunately, the sad thing is that for thousands and millions of other animals that aren't lucky enough to be rescued by a sanctuary, there's no jest to it whatsoever. So.
yeah,
Uh, and then we have had a couple of issues where I'm sure people from the opposite side, as you will, think that where we should go or what we should do, but that's going to happen when people have different views, and I'm in my lane and I'll stick to my lane, and if they want to get upset about what I'm doing, then that's absolutely fine. I know I'm certainly not worrying about what they're doing.
yeah, yeah. So what was your most rewarding rescue that you've had to date then? Was it one of your earlier ones or?
Yeah, we've had quite a few rewarding rescues and also heartbreaking rescues as well.
Mm,
I think one of the most rewarding initially was Jinga, the sheep
yeah,
that
yeah,
was left for dead. But
mm,
obviously that then turned to heartbreak as we sadly lost her a few weeks later when we thought she was absolutely perfect, and going along well. But unfortunately, she had pregnancy toxemia, which
Yeah.
would have led to a death anyway. So we were fighting an uphill battle. That was one of the most rewarding. One of the trickiest and also rewarding was Big Bobby, who unfortunately isn't now here today. Big Bobby
Yeah.
was dumped on the motorway, and yeah, he was rescued by the police, hence the name Bobby. And they give him 24 hours to live, and somebody had initially stepped forward but then pulled out, and we then found out about his case with just an hour to go. So he was literally saved in the nick of time.
Mm.
An old man, he'd most likely been used as a breeding boar and then dumped when he was no
Yeah.
good. And he was the gentlest soul you'll ever meet, and he spent the last 4 years of his life surrounded by love and care from all our volunteers, and his pig family, and unfortunately, we had to let him cross the Rainbow Bridge last year as we found him to have cancer. So yeah, it's sorely missed as all of our former friends are. But that was certainly one that warmed the heart, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know you're involved in a TV program as well. Is it a children's program, isn't it?
The one that we've just recently done
Yeah.
is yeah, so that's the kids TV program Milkshake. So
Right.
uh where they came to the sanctuary with 4 kids,
Mm.
and myself and Rosie did 2 different tasks.
Right.
So yeah, that's one that we've been involved. We've also been involved in the Yorkshire Vet.
Mm.
And then we've also been on, I think it's Autumn on the Farm or something like that, which
Right.
was a bit of a contentious issue for some people, because
Mm.
obviously it's a farming program. But we took the view in that that's a completely different audience to what we'd ever hoped to
Yeah.
reach, and you know, if we could even change one person's mind out of that audience, then we'd be doing ourselves and our animals justice. So yeah,
Yeah.
they've all got different experiences and they've all got positives and negatives, but ultimately, while we're more in the public eye and in the spotlight, so are our animals.
Yeah.
And when they're in the public eye and they're in the spotlight, their stories can come across
Yeah.
and spread joy and love to everybody. And I'm confident that if if 1,000 people saw their story and the Millington
Yeah.
story, then I'm confident that a minimum of one person would think about a change. That's a win in our book.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, it's just about, even if you get one person, to sort of change the mind or change the direction, it's definitely worth it. I know that yeah, in terms of, we talked about earlier on about helping them, how we can help Militants. So I know you have like a Patreon, we have animals we can sponsor. I know you do loads of fundraising. I know you did the London Marathon as well shortly after you broke your leg. So how can we help you?
So we have a few ways that people can help us. So there's obviously we offer tours. So we do a tour around the sanctuary where people can leave a donation at the end to support the sanctuary. We then have a Patreon scheme, as you said. So for as little as £3 a month, you can find out all the behind the scenes info, the latest rescues, what's going on medically, and also again support the sanctuary. Or some people fall in love when they come to a tour, or fall in love when they see our Instagram, and they fall in love with a particular animal. So we also offer animal adoptions where you can support that particular animal and their care, and then you receive a 6 monthly update, or depending on the tier of just the idea there. Depending on the tier of your adoption, you can also receive some merchandise or even a tour. And then yeah, we also typically do one big fundraiser a year. So we started out doing a 50-mile run. The year after, me and my friend ran back from Newcastle ourselves. So that was 104 miles in 22 hours. And then I had to have my knee reconstructed. So Josh, one of our volunteers, did 31 marathons in 31 days. And then I unfortunately had to then have my ankle reconstructed as well. But I'd got a place for London Marathon, and I'd failed 7 times since, and I couldn't defer it anymore. So I took up the place, and yeah, just a couple of months after my operation were trudging the streets of London. So I'm sure I'll get my thinking cap on and help. There'll be another big fundraiser out there next year for people to follow and watch me suffer and hopefully raise some funds to support the sanctuary in the process.
Yeah, I mean, like you said before, you've got 100 animals who need quite a bit of support, and with you working as well, you do need, it's quite a lot of money you need to keep the sanctuary going. And I know we're going to see you again at our festival as well, which we're over the moon that you're coming up again to see us. So what I'll do is I'll put some links on. I'll put all your social links on, and also other ways which you can suggest people can help, because that's what we want to do. I mean, the whole point of doing this interview is to talk about the animals, all the individual animals, and the joy they bring, and the fact that these are, the individual as the people that we are as well, and to try and change some minds, but also to get some money for you as well. So I'm going to
support.
You're very, very welcome. I mean, we feel privileged to know people like you. It's just, you're just absolutely amazing. You and your team and your amazing animals as well. So I'm gonna sign off now. I'm gonna let you get back to your busy day, because I know you've got loads of things going on. So thank you very much for joining us today. Really, really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So this is Anna Amelia from Northeast Animal Rights signing off now and saying goodbye. And thank you to Jake from Millington's Magical Barn.
See you soon.
Bye.